It's 10 a.m., so I think it's a good time to start the session. Monday evening, about a year ago, I was finally able to spend some time with my family after a hectic day at work. For the entire day, I had to listen to the negative feedback about our team. Project managers complained about our communication or lack of communication. Developers were disappointed that they have to wait for 4 weeks to get the staging running. I don't know why they were unhappy because of that. The BD team, business development team, wanted to start a new project, but we couldn't find talent on time, and the deal went off. They weren't happy about it. During my weekly one-on-one with my leader, I learned that one of the clients is angry again because of the DevOps task we did for him. So after the entire day, I simply had enough, and I was happy that I am at home and I can do stuff with my family. So I put my son to bed. Everything was good. I hope that I finally had some time to chill. But then I got a notification from PagerDuty saying that one of the project is on fire. So I had to go back in front of the computer, check what's going on, reach out to the team, and see what's going on. After a few hours, we found the issue, we fixed the bug, and everything was good. We were able to finally call it a day. It was already midnight, so my evening was, well, there was no evening for me on that day. And then the red line called. This time it was my wife. She was upstairs already in bed, and she called me to tell me that her water broke and we need to get to the hospital. So I just was like, but yeah, I was happy. We went to the hospital, and after a few hours and a successful deployment, I became a dad for the second time. But I also realized that I have a few days of vacation, thanks to my kid. And when I go back to work, I need to do something about this DevOps thing because it definitely doesn't spark joy. So, hello everyone. I'm glad that you are here. This is our first session after the keynote. My name is Adam, and this is my shadow somewhere here. So sorry about that. You will see me and my shadow as well, and someone else had too. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about how we killed DevOps. In order to find out, we would have to go back in time a little bit to the pre-DevOps team era. A little bit of context, how our company looked like back then. We were a small web development agency, a dozen or two of developers, some project managers. We dealt mostly with startups, so the projects were small, a server here, server there, and that was it. Infrastructure were very simple, and because of that, we didn't have any dedicated ops role in the team. It basically wasn't needed. We were able to deploy, to manage servers and all of that, just by having, people, developers, and the team. And let's stick with that topic. How was it possible? We were a small community. We had open meetings. Everyone was invited. We openly shared our experiences. We built tools together, and we thought about best practices of all of our projects. And at some point, we also introduced part-time ops. So for a couple days, for a couple hours a day, there was a person in the team who was responsible for dealing with server issues and stuff. So to give you more context to that, this is what we thought about DevOps. So DevOps is the people who operate on servers, but not like in a command line, but they write scripts, they automate, they are lazy, so they don't have to repeat themselves, they automate a lot, they write these YAML files, and everything is good. This is DevOps. But we hit some challenges along the road. For instance, we had multiple projects, so there was my database migration here, major release coming in there, and it was hard to manage all of those contexts at once. Of course, that was major things, but the team also needed help, like ad hoc help. This thing doesn't work. I can't find logs. The disk is full. Stuff like that. We also knew that we had to invest a lot of time in tools and automation because we had multiple projects. We do a lot of projects as a company, so it makes sense for us to make create some best practices and tools and move them across the project, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we start a new project. So we needed to do that. And we dealt with startups in their early phases, but they weren't in their early phases anymore. So the problems we came across were much more complicated. And it became harder to do all of that. Yeah. So summing this up, there was a lot of buzz back then in the industry. Everyone was migrating to the cloud, and we also needed someone who could help us to migrate to the cloud and help us with this container journey. We wanted to automate everything. We saw that automation is going to help us scale better, and this will allow us to beat our competition on the market. And there was more heavy DevOps to handle. And we needed this guy, because this guy knows tools, he helps people, he gets stuff done, and we needed him. And actually we found such person in our team, and after a while we created to create a team with MacGyver in place. So this is how we created a DevOps team. I was the head of technology back then, so I had many stuff on my plate. I also became a leader of this DevOps team, but unfortunately it wasn't my key priority. So we managed somehow to migrate to the cloud thanks to this DevOps team. What does it mean is that we migrated from some dedicated servers in Poland and in Germany to some other servers in the world, thanks to the AWS. We did this container thing, Docker thing. We write Docker files and all of that. We improved our continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines. And we also introduced DevOps Guardians concept to our team. So each team has its own guardian. In case there was a question, emergency, they knew who they should reach out to. But then growth happened. And let me illustrate that with a visualization. So 1 year we were about 50, and we were able to grow by 50 people in a year. So we grew by 100% in a year, and it was a great success. How many DevOps people we hired? None. But it was still a good achievement. But actually, next year we were able to hire 50 people each quarter. But this time we were able to actually find a few DevOps people. But you know what? Something was not right about it. Not just the amount, but if you look closely, you would notice that the people I marked with the red circle were part-time magician, detective, mechanic, a doctor, and a firefighter, of course. So this is DevOps team. I assume that you have a similar setup in your companies as well. And that wasn't all. We also started to receive some feedback from the team. So I talked to the team near the water cooler and so on, and I heard things like, I don't know how to do that. I'm here to do the development stuff. I'm not interested in servers and all of that. This checklist doesn't work. This is what DevOps is supposed to do, right? I can't access the server, they don't allow me there, and I'm getting crazy about waiting for the DevOps team to get something done. And I started to wonder how bad it really is. So I asked the team what's going on, and they told me that we couldn't keep up with work. There were too many contexts, too many projects, too many people, and it was a hectic thing to do. So another visualization. So we have a DevOps team over here, and we have multiple projects. So what we could have done is that we could have helped the team to help themselves by sharing knowledge, inviting them to our projects, I don't know, maybe building some kind of automation for all of them, and yeah, stuff like that. But instead, we decided to improve ourselves. What does it mean? Write better scripts, invoke more centralization because it will be easier for the DevOps team to handle all of that. And in general, the improvement is very good, right? Continuous improvement, we heard it a lot. But in our case, it wasn't the case in our team because we had definitely more than 3 projects. And when they started asking questions, they had multiple requests and so on, it looked like this. And all we could do is we just screamed that, oh my God, this is hectic. And the result, the ops knowledge among the team decreased completely. Something which was previously widely known in the team suddenly became hard to understand. No one wanted to learn about it, and yeah, because no one was telling them and sharing knowledge with them. The tools we created were for ops, not for the DevOps, not for the other part of the company. So tools were closed. There was no documentation. Everything was in our heads, and no one was allowed to touch this. And yeah, everything was maintained from one place, so that was effective for our DevOps team. But if you wanted to, I don't know, hand over it to someone else or add some kind of customization, it wasn't possible because, yeah, it was centrally maintained and there was no flexibility. And the tension between the teams became an issue. So we saw developers blaming DevOps and DevOps blaming developers. Project managers were involved. There was a lot of tension. I have a few quotes here, like, check which devs fucked it up and let the readers know. So, you know, there was a lot of blaming. On the other hand, we heard voices like, this is a joke. So definitely we weren't very motivated to do our job. And at some point I thought that, you know what, let's hire some DevOps engineers that should help, right? But it wasn't so easy. I talked to the management about it, and they told me that, you know, okay, but we sell our services, but your DevOps team, they don't bring money to the company, and money is very important for us. But we weren't good at money, right? So, nope, we got rejected, and we basically needed to work harder. As a result, overtime became a new normal. On-call was just another shift. We fixed what we couldn't during the daytime. And yeah, there is a great quote by Patrick Lightbody. We found that when we woke up developers at 2 a.m., the defects got fixed faster than ever, right? So that was our case as well. And, you know, it was hectic. It was bad. But at the same time, you know, we still have this growth thing, and our business landscape changed as well. We got some more serious client, enterprise, and so on. More money was involved, so things got serious, really. And the clients were more demanding. It was not good enough to just, you know, set up a server and call it a day. Nope. We had to do everything from, you know, auto-scaling, self-healing, monitoring, and all of that. So it required 100% attention. It wasn't enough to just go to some project for an hour and fix it. We had to commit for days, weeks, and even months to get stuff done. At the same time, there was our team, not just clients. And they still needed help. That there were some cases where they were on their own and they couldn't do anything without the DevOps team. At least they needed someone to review their pull request, if that doesn't break anything and so on. Someone also has to maintain the tools we centralized at some point, because the team relied on them. And of course there were fires, so we needed someone to put them. So summing this up, there was a huge demand for DevOps services, both internally and externally, and definitely DevOps was the bottleneck. Another illustration how the fire situation looked like. So let's say we had a fire. One of the clients, I don't know, production was down. So we sent the team over there. Guys, fix it. And they started to fix it and so on. They told us that it will require a couple days to fix that. But suddenly, our cluster breaks, and the entire company is unable to access staging environments. They can't test things on staging. So we are talking like, dozens of people here. So what we do, we send a team over there. Hey guys, fix the staging server, make it work. Just patch this client's problem and let's go from there. And you know what? If we just have 2 fires, that would be good. But reality was that there was a fire. So as you can imagine, no one was happy about it. Neither the management, DevOps team, the company. I wasn't happy. And this time an emoji without a question mark. We knew that it is bad. So desperate times call for desperate measures, and we reach out to the management that, hey, this situation is really good. We need to do something about it on a company level, and this is how we entered a DevOps wartime phase. Actually, it sounds serious. It was serious, but it was actually a good thing. So we were able to focus the entire company's energy on our thing. A little bit of context how the communication looked like up to the DevOps wartime. So our DevOps team was like bombarded with questions on the back channel, private channel, near the water cooler. They weren't able to do a coffee without, getting hijacked and be asked for some kind of favor and so on. And it was hectic. And we introduced this wartime, and we knew that we need to cut these communication channels down and make just one communication channel and make the information flow in one place. And actually, we created this DevOps wartime channel on Slack, and every stakeholder was invited there. If you wanted to change some priority, if you wanted your migration to be done as a next step, then you would have to do it via this channel. And everyone else was able to see that. The work was visible, and they can say that, okay, this is less important than this. And basically, we didn't make the decision ourselves. It was the company who was agreeing on the priority. And that was good because we finally knew what the priorities are and what should we do next. We also introduced daily meetings. We invited project managers, service delivery managers, customer success teams, so they know what's going on and what are we working on right now. We had all hands on deck. For instance, our CEO came by on our DevOps wartime channel. It's in Polish, you don't have to read that. We also have our head of technology. And they, I know that it looks very silly that, I'm happy about some Slack messages, but it shows that, we had their support, and it was very important for us that we weren't on our own. It was very important for the entire DevOps wartime mission. And we actually started to cooperate with other departments. They knew this is bad and they had to help us. So for instance, developers team, they started to write some articles about the domain which was previously only in the hands of DevOps team, like monitoring, like load balancing and all of that. There were some articles from the developers team, so we were in the source. That was good. We as a DevOps team started to communicate better. When we changed something, we wrote about it. So previously, everything was in our head. All the policies, all the rules, all the priorities were in our head. But we decided that we need to make them visible and tell everyone what they are about, and invite them for commenting, feedback, and so on. We also created some kind of manifest during the wartime between delivery teams and DevOps teams. For instance, like we decided on this one communication channel, single source of truth, and all of that. And respecting this manifest helped us to get stuff done. And we also introduced a little bit of automation here and there, so we don't waste precious time on tedious tasks like communicating who should we get in touch with when there is something wrong. And wartime also gave us focus. This is very important. We operate on quarterly goals. Each department operates on company goals. And we used to have like 6 or 7 priorities for the DevOps team. We never accomplished most of them. And during the wartime, we realized that we need to focus. We need to get the important things only, and this is what matters. I will show you a couple goals for the DevOps wartime phase. For instance, Net Promoter Score from service desk tickets like more than a 50. I will explain the NPS in a minute. Average ticket lead time, less than 2 days of work. It was like 4 or 6 days before. Staging environment is created in less than 1 hour. It took 4 or 6 weeks to make it happen, so you can see the difference. But these were our goals for a given quarter, and nothing else. So summing this up, DevOps wartime gave us a sense of urgency on company level, cross-company collaboration, and we saw that we can do things differently and they actually work. We don't have to follow the same path over and over again. And it also gave us focus. So all we knew is that something has to change. Another quote from Leo Tolstoy: everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. That's why we started by changing our team and rituals around our team. We knew that we need to collaborate with other people. That was our sense. We sensed that we need to collaborate with people. We need some kind of destination. We need to know where we need to go. We need to automate all these tedious tasks so we save precious time. We need to iterate and experiment. We won't have the perfect solution the first time. We need to try a few things in order to find the best one. And we need to communicate better because we suck. That was it. Okay, so back to NPS. Because I'm going to talk about it because it helped us to focus on what's important. And what's important for us was that we wanted to increase the quality of the things DevOps teams produced and the time. And we found out that this number is going to help us. So NPS, Net Promoter Score. You just ask one question: how likely is that you would recommend our DevOps services to a friend or a colleague? And you get a scale from 0 to 10. If the rating is from 9 to 10, this person is a promoter. If the rating is from 0 to 6, you get a detractor. That definitely is not a promoter. And you have like 7 and 8, and those votes are neutral. And the NPS is calculated as the difference between the promoters and detractors. And the scale is from -100 to 100. And of course, we didn't want to do it manually, so we did this automation thing. So we had this single source of truth. In our case, it was Jira, one service desk, and we had everything what we had to do in there. And after each ticket was completed, there was a simple message sent to the ticket reporter, and we asked them to just give us feedback from 0 to 10. And we put all of the responses in one spreadsheet, and we took this spreadsheet to Clipfolio. This is stuff for data warehouse and visualization, and we got a beautiful dashboard. Yeah, so we were happy about it, that we finally have a number which is going to tell us if we are going the right direction or not. So we started to receive some feedback. You can see like all of the green ones are promoters, gray ones are neutrals, and we had some red ones. And what we've done is we took all of the so the rule were simple. Every time we get a rating which was not a positive one, so not the green one, we reach out to the person and ask one question: what can we do to get a 10 next time? And we get instant feedback, and the ticket reporter, he or she, they realize that we really want to change ourselves and provide better services. So we bought, we had buy-in from them as well, and we had like great feedback, and we could act up on them. Good. And we started to receive some positive feedback. So again, I was making a coffee and I started to hear a conversation like, yeah, I really like the effort. I really like the reorganization thing. I appreciate that even though they are doing overtime, they really want to help us. We really like it. And yeah, I think the situation between us, the tension, it decreases, and we are going in the right direction. And it was very encouraging for us. So we finally knew that we are on the right path. And this is how we entered DevOps enlightenment phase. This is my favorite part, because probably it's about me, but never mind. So let me tell you about my aha moment in DevOps. So this is a screenshot from my casual conversation with my friend Bartosz on Slack. And even though it's in Polish, you will get the idea. So Bartosz mentions 2 books in his message: The Go and the Phoenix Project. And he also used word mega 4 times. If you knew Bartosz, you would know that this is something huge. So I didn't wait long. I started reading those books. I actually read a couple more. This is just a snapshot. And after reading these books, so right now, what I think about the time before reading these books and after reading these books. So before, this is how I understood DevOps. So some random stuff. I probably knew what is it about, some servers in there, but I didn't see the entire picture. But after reading these books, suddenly I get it clear. So this is DevOps. I see. This is good. I like it. It's not actually that thing we had, but still, I know what it is, and I can take my knowledge and try to do something within the organization and change it for good. And I learned that the intuition we had about us, what we need to do, it actually corresponds with the DevOps values. So collaboration, automation, iteration, and communication. So we had a good intuition. And finally, we were able to came up with the right DevOps definition. I know there is a manual DevOps definition, but I think this one works for us very well. It's taken from AWS page. These guys knows what they do. So DevOps is a combination of cultural philosophies, practices, and tools that increases an organization's ability to deliver applications and services at high velocity. And it was easy to understand for both management and the delivery people. And with that definition, we moved on. But sorry. Okay, and one more realization. So after I learned a lot about what DevOps is and so on, I started to search in the web, what does it mean to have a good DevOps team? And I went to Martin Fowler's page. He knows his stuff. I found the DevOps culture article, so I found, okay. And what's in there? So there was the entire paragraph, but the important thing is that there is a fragment saying that there's a common anti-pattern in DevOps, that when you create the DevOps team, you actually breaking the first rule, which is breaking silos, creating just another silo. And I was like, I was very disappointed that I just found out it after all of these hectic days. But this is how we entered DevOps culture phase. Even though we are still beginners, I would say, we applied a lot of cool stuff, and I'm going to I'm going to show you what we've done. So, anyone was at the DevOps transformation workshop yesterday? Yeah, a couple of you. So we talked about CALMs back then. These are DevOps pillars, and the CALMs is a term brought to us about 10 years ago by Diamond Edwards and John Willis, and it stands for culture, automation, lean, measurement of metrics, and sharing. And I will go through each of them and tell you our examples, how we managed to put these values into our organization. So let's start with culture. We knew that DevOps is not about servers anymore, and we need to focus on people. So we started conversation with people. We asked them, hey, how can, DevOps people help you with your job? How can we deliver the value faster or deliver the higher value to our customers and our businesses? So I mentioned that the quarterly goals. We also have quarterly themes in our company. It could be, so the entire company is aligned with one goal. It could be recruitment, it could be, automation, it could be, growth. I'm sorry. And we were able to put DevOps values in these quarterly themes, and that helped us to spark the idea of DevOps in the entire company again. And we stopped blaming ourselves, not ourselves, but themselves. Every time we saw that someone was blaming, oh, well, they fucked up, they did something wrong, this made us aware of that, and we just pay attention to that, and we didn't allow it to happen. And basically, we were able to eliminate it, at least in the places where we saw that. We helped the people to understand DevOps. We started the conversation with them, and we were able to tell them what's important in the DevOps and why do we want to do that. It's for the better, right? We started this continuous improvement thing. I mentioned these quarterly goals. I was able to persuade the management that, this continuous improvement thing, we have to implement it in our culture. And they were, okay, but what can we accomplish in 3 months? I said, I don't know, maybe we can just, spark the idea. Well, that's not enough, how much money, and so on. It was hard, but somehow I was able to do that. And this is cool because from what I see right now, we for that purpose we created this emoji, 1% improvement, and I can still see it on our Slack. Every time someone improves a process, improves a practice, or add some kind of automation, this person puts this 1% improvement emoji in our Slack, and it's very cool to see that. So even though we didn't earn money in the short term, I'm sure that in the long term, we increased our value as a company, and we do a better job. And we also started measure the culture. I will tell you how did we do that, because it sounds suspicious, but there is a scientific way of doing that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about 3 cultures model. So There is this guy called Ron Westram. He's a sociologist working with high-risk contexts like aviation and healthcare. And he came up with an idea, a research that the organizational culture predicts the way information flows through the organization. And as we all know, information is the king. So if we have a good throughput of the information, our company is going to achieve a success. That was his assumption. And he defined 3 types of organization. Pathological one, power-oriented, and these type of organization are characterized by a great amount of fear, a great amount of fear and stress, and people tend to change the information a little bit so they look better, or they do hide the information for some political reasons. This is pathological. Great name for that. Another one is bureaucratic. This type of organization, it's some kind of defensive position of departments. So every department has its own set of rules, guides, and so on, titles, position, and of course, for each department, their own rules are the most important. You have to go through this entire process because you need to make them happy. And it's also not a good one. And the generative one is the organization which is focused on performance. So this organization knows their mission, and they can subordinate all of the resources to achieve the goal. The high efficiency is the key, no matter how we do. The positions, the rules, the politics, this is not important. The goal, the mission, this is what it's important. And as you can imagine, we all want to be in generative companies. Okay, so this is a table showing the differences. Basically, you have the entire spectrum from low cooperation to high cooperation, from messengers are shot to messengers are trained. So these are differences between each of the cultures. But how do you measure stuff like that? Actually, it turns out to be very easy. We started to ask teams we asked the following question. How well you identify with the following statements? And we listed probably seven questions, 7 topics. Responsibilities are shared, information is actively sought, and new ideas is welcome. And you get the scale from 0 to 7, and we can easily find out for each project what kind of team are we dealing with. And yeah, if we combine what Westram said, that the organizational culture predicts the information flow in the organization, and we combine it with hypothesis and research in Accelerate book and results from the DevOps survey, we will notice that by creating higher levels of software delivery performance, we increase the rate at which people and teams can innovate and experiment. And that actually leads to higher job satisfaction. And higher level of job satisfaction leads to higher organizational performance. And that's a cycle. So happy people means better job. That was the result of all of the research. So yeah, so we knew that measuring that is going to help us if we are going into the right direction. Okay, let's see what's with an A. So automation. We knew that the most important thing for us would be continuous delivery, because it's a topic which is, again, easy to understand by our people. So we wanted to invest a lot in that. But we also did something else as well. For instance, we created a few features in our Slack bot. We created a Slack bot The bot is called Bob. That was my when I started this project, I just said that, okay, let's call it Bob. And yeah, we have Bob the bot right now. And how Bob helps us in a day-to-day life. So, for instance, he gets the feedback about the NPS. The good thing is that other teams took our approach and they also gather NPS, and we have this feedback among different teams as well. We also so when I mentioned that we have Jira and multiple contexts. There's often a case when someone asks, okay, hey, when my ticket is going to be ready, what's going on, what's the SLA here? So we teach bot how to answer this type of questions, and every time someone posts a question about the ticket, this person gets a message from Bob. And lastly, so we get this. So we divided our team into 3 categories. Like we have primary, secondary, and ninja. Primary is the person which is on call and has the pager and gets all of the pager duty notifications. We get secondary people. Well, maybe not secondary people. That's the best word, but it's a role for a given day. And these people work on a queue, so there is a service desk. We have to exchange SLA and so on. Certificate, or I don't know, set something up. And we have also like Ninja. Ninja is our go-to person for a given day. So if every time you have a problem regarding operation or DevOps, you just come to Ninja and ask him or her about the thing. So our Bob right now communicates the roles every day. Okay, so we have Slackbot. We also invested heavily in Prometheus. I assume that you are familiar with Prometheus. We collect a lot of metrics. Right now we're collecting mostly infrastructure ones, but our goal is to have a project metric as well and business metric too, and combine all of them in one dashboard. So we have right now about 100 simultaneous projects. So you can imagine how many Jiras we have. It's not 100, it's probably 200. And it's hard to know what's going on. So we introduce synchronization. So we had this problem. Again, we either could centralize all of the tickets and all of the knowledge in one place, or we could allow the team to have it customized and store them in their project and so on. But we wanted to have it centrally, to have like SLOs, have the common flow, have the one queue and so on. So we came up with the solution that we synchronized tickets between projects and our service desk. So they just had to put a label, and all of the task was already in our queue. So that sped up things a little bit. And we considered continuous delivery as our key metric. So every time there was a discussion how project is going, is there everything okay, we always asked about continuous delivery, and we invested a lot in that. More on that later. And I mentioned the environment setup. So we had this goal to set staging environment very quickly, in less than 1 hour. So right now we are able to do that in about 7 to 8 minutes, and everything is accessible for our developers. So we build a thing with development team, and they helped us to build this thing, and actually it delivers. So we were able to do that. Okay, a thing about continuous delivery and pager duty. So we use Prometheus for alerting, for collecting the information and sending alerts, and we receive them on Slack and PagerDuty. This is the screenshot of the synchronization which we have right now. So the team just received the notification that this ticket is synchronized, and this is all they should care about. Okay, so in terms of lean, so lean is focused on the value. So what we've done as a company, we started asking better questions. For instance, it wasn't a common approach, but we started to ask our clients questions like this. So, what do you want to achieve? Like, what is your real goal? Is this feature a goal? But okay, what do you want to achieve as a person, as this project? How do you want to change the world? And actually, it switched some things. It switched the approach. The client knew what they wanted to build. The clients knew what they wanted to build. That helped us to align our expectations, and it helped the team to understand that we are not just building features. We are not just writing code. We are just not creating another server or going through some kind of a feature. We really deliver the value, and this is what is important. We started measure lead time, so how fast can we get from idea to production, and that was one of our key metrics. More on that in a while. We improved our product demo game. Previously it was like, okay, let's have a demo, there is no demo, and it was like that. So there was no strict policy, but we made it possible. So every time the iteration finished, we have a demo, and that's really a solid ritual right now. And again, it helped us to understand the real value behind the project we are building. We also started creating case studies, both internal and external, and share them between the teams so they can learn from each other. And the funny one, I don't know if you are into metrics, but I am, we started to measure a lot. We started to gather metrics like I mentioned, lead time, cycle time, deployment frequency, how many pull requests we've made, and so on and so on, how many bugs we have, stuff like that. And we started to store them in a database, but the data itself is not enough. So we came up with a metric. We call it Net Guru Consulting Index, because our goal is to improve as a consulting company, and this is our goal. We want all to be there in a few years. And we decided to create this one key number. And this one key number comes up, it's calculated from two dimensions, product dimension and software dimension. And we can determine if project is good in terms of software or in product, and we just put them somewhere on this graph. So the elements of this virtual number, the NCI, are topics like this. So business value, roadmap, deployment frequency, cycle time, self-assessment based on the Westrum's 3 culture models, sense of ownership, and other areas. So we have about 20 topics, and we measure each of these topics, and we combine it with one number. And all of the topics result in this. This is our report from Net Guru Consulting Index from a given project, and it helps us to show it to project and tell the guys and gals that, hey, business value may be the topic you would like to focus, might be the area you would like to focus on in next weeks and months. And we are just starting with that, but it seems to have a good impact on our alignment around the company. Because for us, so if we just focus on one thing, it might not be the best time for a given team. So for instance, if they are building their continuous delivery pipelines, maybe they are not that deeply into business value or the other hand around. So the teams have the possibility to choose from 20 areas and focus on them. And we as a company, we don't care if improve their continuous delivery, or they are increasing business value. All of that is important for us. So we just want them to continuously improve in that areas. That's why it's useful for us. In terms of DevOps, again, a simple dashboard. So this is how we tracked NPS. So our goal was 50. We got to 89, which is pretty good. And we measure how many responses we have. What's the response ratio? It's not so great. It decreased over time because it was annoying for the people to just rate each of our tickets. But still, we get some data, we get some feedback, and we act upon on these. And we also measure SLA. As I mentioned, quality and time was very important for us, so we measure quality by NPS and time by introducing SLAs and SLOs to our tickets. So if someone posts a, critical ticket, the expectation is that we will finish it in, 2 hours or so. And we measure how confident we are with the data. If we are, so we started pretty high, like, okay, medium ticket, it will take a week. When we saw that we are doing, this, we are completing it every time, 100% success for a couple weeks, then you just decreased it. And again, if everything was fine, we just tweaked it a little bit. Of course, it was all aligned with the team, so it was not like management said, okay, critical's like half an hour, go. And it helped us to move into the right direction. And the last one, sharing, and so we knew that we messed things up where we hoarded all of the information for ourselves, so we wanted to improve that. What we've done. We introduced office hours. Everyone is invited to come on a given day and talk to us about whatever they want, probably in the DevOps related topic. We recorded and provided workshops and webinars for the entire company, and it's all available and part of our learning path. We started writing postmortems that are blameless, and we share them with the team so they can learn from our mistakes. We also knew that we have to improve our documentation. We use Confluence a lot. We created we got through all of the pages in our wiki, and we improved them. If there's something outdated, we make a great epic effort to complete all of them. And we created a couple of community of practice. Like, we knew that there is a lot of interest around, let's say, Docker, containerization. So we created a community of practice. They gather each week and they talk about related topics. And we did that with security, continuous deployment, CI/CD pipelines as well. We're almost finished. So you might wonder, what's the future of DevOps? Do we still have DevOps team in our organization? Yes, we do, because it would be easy just to change the name, but it's not just about the name. So we are right now exploring topics like dividing the team to ops, to platform thing, SREs, everything. So we don't really know yet. Actually, next week we have a meeting about it, and we are going to talk about the pros and cons and so on. So maybe I will know in 1 week. And then at the end, I would like to talk you through a couple of takeaways from our journey. So please be aware of DevOps teams. If someone asks me, if someone would ask me if the DevOps team is bad, I would ask the person back if they ever heard about agile teams. Maybe, but probably not. Even if they exist, they are created to help the organization to solve some bigger issues and make the new ideas stick to the company. They are not created to solve agile issues, all of the agile issues. They are not. So you need to be aware of that. And I also learned that we need to work together. I heard yesterday during the workshop a great sentence that DevOps is empathy. We should ask ourselves, how can we help each other? And I think it's a great way to put what DevOps is about. But yeah, in general, we learned that we need to work together. We need to look behind our silos. We need to see what the other person's perspective is. So we need to bring the diversity, and not just in terms of colors, skin color, or a gender, but also like we need to combine people's knowledge, QAs, developers, managers, operations, and we can get better results by working together. And good change takes time. It took us, I don't know, maybe a year to be at the point where we are right now. And you need to be prepared for that. Management will always ask you, okay, how can we resolve that? What kind of metrics are you going to provide? And I learned that you need to come up with some kind of metric which shows that the needle is moving in the right direction. You can't say that, okay, we do from 10 to 50 something. You will just say that we are going to make this metric up a little bit. I don't know how much, but it will show that we are going in the right direction. That's what I learned. And we can, because it takes a lot of time, we need to make continuous processes and continuous improvement, continuous experimentation, all of that. It's going to help us a lot. Why do I think continuous improvement is important? This is one of my favorite graphs. It shows how continuous improvement works over time. So if we improve by 1% every day, we got, I don't know, about 30 times improvement at the end. On the other hand, if we allow the skills and process to degrade a little bit, the results might be very, very disappointing at the end. Okay, and the final note is that we are all DevOps. I'm glad that you came here to DevOpsCon to learn something and to improve yourselves, your environments, your organizations. And even though we killed DevOps in our company, in our case, DevOps has never been better. And the last thing is I wanted to remember is DevOps is a culture. It combines agile, continuous delivery, automation, and much more. And it helps people to be more efficient, innovate faster, bring higher value to customers and businesses. And yeah, my name is Adam. I work for a company called NetGuru, and thank you.